All right, welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Today we're tackling something a little different,
Okay.
something that's both familiar and kind of mysterious. Time. And what better way to explore it than through the words of, well, the legendary Pink Floyd
Right.
and their iconic song, Time. So we're going to dive deep into the lyrics, looking at how they capture our very human experience of time, how it shapes our lives.
Our choices,
Yeah.
and even those little nagging regrets we all carry around
You
sometimes.
know those ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So are you ready to get a little philosophical with me today?
I am ready. Bring on the deep thoughts.
Perfect. All right, so let's kick things off right from the start. Pink Floyd paints this really vivid picture of wasted time,
Right.
ticking away the moments that make up a dull day.
Fritter and waste the hours in an offhand way.
I mean, doesn't that just hit home for you sometimes?
Totally. You know, it's like they're speaking directly to that part of us that gets stuck in a rut,
Yeah.
just going through the motion.
Like on autopilot almost.
Yeah, exactly. It's that autopilot feeling where you're not really present
Mm-hmm.
and the hours are just slipping by like sand through your fingers.
And it's funny because I think, especially when we're younger, we have this almost delusional sense of unlimited time.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like we're invincible.
Right.
Time just doesn't seem to apply to us in the same way.
And that's probably why we're all masters of procrastination in our younger years.
Oh, yeah. Guilty as charged.
I mean, there's always tomorrow, right?
Exactly. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow.
Until suddenly there isn't,
Ooh.
right? Like the song says, and then one day you find 10 years have got behind you.
No one told you when to run. You missed the starting gun. It's a rude awakening for sure.
Yeah, it's like you're suddenly aware that time has been keeping track.
Whether you were paying attention or not.
I think that's where the whole relativity of time thing really comes into play.
Yeah.
Like objectively, a day is a day.
But our experience of it can be so wildly different.
Totally. Right. Like think about those days that just seem to drag on forever.
Maybe you're stuck at work or school and every minute feels like an eternity.
Ugh. Yeah, I know those days.
But then you have those other days that just fly by in a blur.
Maybe you're doing something you love or you're with people you cherish.
And suddenly it's bedtime. And you're like, wait, what happened to the day?
Yeah, it's almost like those days where you have something to look forward to.
Thanks,
Like
Kate.
anticipation slows time
Right,
down,
right,
but then,
When you're actually in the moment, it speeds up.
yeah, it's crazy how our perception of time can be so warped by our emotions and experiences.
I love that line in the song. The sun is the same in a relative way, but you're older.
It just so perfectly illustrates that.
Yeah, it's a simple observation, but it packs a punch.
Totally. And it really sets the stage for the next part of the song where things start to get a bit, well, heavier.
Yeah, definitely.
We're talking about aging.
Yelling.
Those big existential questions.
Right, like shorter of breath and one day closer to death.
Whew. I mean, that's not exactly sugarcoating it,
No, it's pretty blunt.
but I think it's also incredibly honest.
Yeah, I agree. It's this raw acknowledgement that time is finite.
And that our time here is precious.
Is as much as we might try to ignore it.
Death is a reality we all have to face eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I think as we get older,
That awareness of our own mortality.
it actually starts to shape our priorities.
Totally. There's this shift that happens.
Where you start to value different things.
You're less concerned with material possessions.
and more focused on experiences.
relationships.
Making memories.
Yeah, it's like suddenly you're not so worried about climbing the corporate ladder.
You just want to spend time with your loved ones.
Travel the world.
Pursue those passions you maybe put on hold. But of course, that realization often comes with a side of regret.
Right.
Looking back on the past and thinking, oh man, I wish I had done things differently.
Plans that come to naught.
Yeah, exactly. And that feeling of having more to say.
But time has run out.
The time is gone. The song is over. Thought I had something more to say.
I mean, that's a pretty universal human experience, I think. Absolutely everyone has regrets.
But it's what you do with those regrets that matters.
So how do we avoid getting stuck in that cycle of regret?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing that we can't change the past,
Right.
but we can learn from it.
And use it to inform our present and our future.
Easier said than done, though, right?
Oh, for sure. It takes effort and self-awareness.
But it's possible.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the whole idea of setting goals comes in.
Absolutely. Goals give us direction.
They help us focus our time and energy on things that are meaningful to us.
And it's not just about setting those big, lofty goals either.
Right.
Sometimes it's those small, everyday choices that make the biggest difference.
Yeah, like choosing to spend an hour with a friend instead of scrolling through social media.
Or taking a walk in nature instead of watching TV.
It's about being intentional with our time.
And speaking of intentionality, Pink Floyd throws in this really interesting line about,
Hanging on in quiet desperation is the English way.
yeah, what's up with
Yeah.
that? It's a bit of a cultural observation, I guess.
Right.
But I also think it speaks to this broader human tendency,
You sometimes just accept our lot in life.
even if we're not truly happy,
Yeah, to just kind of go through the motions.
and not really rock the boat.
Exactly. But I think Pink Floyd is challenging us to do more than just hang on.
To break free from that quiet desperation,
Yeah, to actually go after what we want.
to make the most of the time we have.
And to not be afraid to make mistakes along the way.
I think that's such a key point,
Because fear can be such a powerful force.
holding us back from pursuing our dreams,
Fear of failure, fear of judgment.
fear of the unknown,
Yeah, it's like we get so caught up in those fears.
that we end up settling for a life that's less than what we're capable of,
But what if we embrace those fears?
and use them as fuel to propel us forward.
That's a powerful reframe.
It's about recognizing that failure is part of the process.
And that the only way to truly grow is to step outside of our comfort zones.
You know, this whole deep dive into time has really got me thinking.
About how we can all be more mindful of our relationship with time.
Yeah, it's a constant journey.
It is, but I think it's a journey worth taking.
Absolutely.
Because ultimately, time is our most valuable resource.
It's the one thing we can't buy more of.
We can't get back.
And that's why it's so important to spend it wisely.
To invest it in things that matter to us.
Create a life that feels rich and fulfilling.
And you know, I think Pink Floyd would leave us with this question.
If you had more time in the song,
What would you say?
what's your untold story?
What are those dreams you're still holding on to?
Those things you haven't yet said or done.
Don't let time slip away without making your mark on the world.
Go out there and make your time count.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
So until next time, everyone, keep those deep thoughts flowing.
And keep making the most of your precious time.
Cheers!
Cheers!